Good evening, everybody. Won't be a super long show. I'm gonna sit down tonight and have me something to eat while I watch the game and get ready to get the rest of my stuff done for the week, basically over the course of the next 2 days. Thank you all for joining me. So essentially, I'm going to do this and damage report exactly as I did last night. I still haven't found the exact format I want for the presentation of Landfall Hour. I'm trying to make something that's about as condensed as damage report, but it's still got to have a little bit more information in it since it's predictive as opposed to reactive. Get to some of the comments here. Slump says we're here barely, but we're here. Oh, cool. I'm glad you're at the game. I can't wait till I can make it to one. It's just not in the cards for me right now. J-Dub says, I feel like I'm beat up too after last night. Yeah. Daniel, what's up? Are we pulling? Yes. Pull the rope. Everybody must pull the rope. So let me get all this set up here so we can go over all this stuff. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and go through here and everything like that. So first, the two games between the Canes and the Oilers this season. The second one will be on March 6th. Carolina will play in Edmonton. That'll wrap up the season series. Players to watch. No surprise on all of these for Edmonton, but the way the season started for Carolina, you wouldn't guess that Andrei Svechnikov would be on here so much. So Connor McDavid has 8 points in his last 5 games. Andrei Svechnikov has 7. 4 of them are goals, of which 2 of them he scored last night. Connor McDavid has 4 goals in his last 5 games. Svechnikov with 4, as aforementioned. Evan Bouchard has 5 assists. Nikolai Ehlers has 4. And that's a good sign from Ehlers. So you're getting a lot of assists. Ehlers isn't really brought in to score goals himself. He's brought in to, create clean entries and create time and space and create offense for the guys around him. He's done an excellent job of that, especially since he, Stankoven, and Blake have formed a line, and that one's been really, really good. Goaltending here. We'll talk about that here in a little bit with the edge data. Stuart Skinner and Frederick Anderson are expected to be the matchup tonight, so starter versus starter. Edmonton has a 30% power play, and they are currently ranked 3rd in the NHL. That's something the Hurricanes really have to keep an eye on tonight. If they can contain the power play when they do have to kill them off, and if they can stay out of the box, that's going to be very essential tonight. Carolina actually made a little bit of a bump in their power play last night. They're back up to 14%. They were 1 for 2 last night. Penalty kill, this is where these teams are actually, pretty close. Edmonton has 82%, and they are 9th. Carolina is 80.7, and they are 14th. No surprise there with all the injuries that Carolina has dealt with. If they had their full complement of healthy players, especially if you're talking about Slavin in particular, Carolina's probably got that about 5% higher, and they're near the top, if not at the top of the league. But all circumstances considered, an 80.7 penalty kill from the Canes is still really, really damn good. Face-off percentages, Edmonton 52.6, Carolina 50.3, goals for per game. Carolina actually has more than Edmonton, surprisingly, which this isn't normal, but it is where we're at the moment. 3.71 for Carolina. They rank 3rd in the NHL, and the Oilers rank 19th with 3.05. Don't be the team that allows the Oilers to get back hot as far as scoring closer to 3.3 to 3.8, which is about where the Oilers would normally line up with as much offense as they have in that lineup. Goals against per game, Carolina, despite all the injuries, is still in the top 10 ranked there with 2.88. The Oilers, yeah, they score a lot, but they're giving up even more if you're looking at it from a per game standpoint, giving up 3.42 a night. So looking at this in isolation, if you keep the Oilers off the board 5-on-5, but their biggest net positive would probably be on the power play, then that's where Carolina's better 5-on-5 play, better penalty killing normally, that can probably score shorthanded more likely and make a bigger net positive there, and at least get 1 power play goal tonight, and you can make that happen. But the Oilers, the top 6 in the power play is going to be the biggest things you have to worry about. We'll get into that in a little bit here. So last 10 games, Carolina is 6-4-0. They have done really, really well, especially adversity considered. The Oilers are actually kind of in a bit of a skid. They're 4-3-3. They haven't really done a whole lot in the last few games. They lost to Vancouver, and Carolina beat Vancouver in the last game. Surprisingly enough, they lost in overtime to the Canucks, and the Hurricanes just beat the Canucks in overtime last night. So all that to be considered there. Points-wise, to be expected, Connor McDavid, 27 in 19 games. You keep him off the board and you keep Leon Draisaitl off the board, you got a pretty good chance there. Leon Draisaitl has 20 in 19 games. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 16 in 16 games, so he's point per game right now. So the Oilers are a very offense-based team. They typically can outscore their problems, even though goals for and goals against per game, it doesn't really look like that right now, but they can do it. You look at Jack Roslovic, 12 points in 17 games. Roslovic's speed and his offense-first mindset has become a very, very good fit with the Oilers, so he's someone to keep an eye on tonight. Then when you look at defensemen, to be expected, Evan Bouchard, 15 points. Kind of slow in the goal-scoring department because normally he does score a lot of goals for a defenseman. He's got one of the best shots from the blue line in the league, highest velocity, average shot in the league, everything like that. So going over and actually looking at the lines, as expected, Kokoniemi is out. Jarvis is a game-time decision. If he is playing, I imagine he will have a fishbowl or a cage on so that way whatever stitching, suturing, anything like that he got done doesn't risk reopening. And plus, if that eye's already swollen, you don't want to get hit with it again because I don't know if you've ever been hit again in something that's already swollen and sometimes like fluid and shit leaks out of it. It's disgusting and it doesn't feel good. Anderson will be starting for the Canes, as we already know. A little bit other news here. Shane Gostisbehere recorded 11 points, 1 goal, and 10 assists in 8 games this season, leading the NHL in all defensemen with points per game with 1.38, and that is excellent. So I want to take a deeper look at his numbers if we have time, because I want to see what the split is between 5-on-5, primary assists, secondary assists, and all that type of stuff. Ghost has been really excellent this year, and I stand by what I said nearly 2 years ago now. He's better than Shea. So let's see if we can see the Oilers lines here. Now, the Oilers are also getting Zach Hyman back. That's going to add some more lethality to that top 6. It was already hard to deal with without him, but Zach Hyman is one of those guys, people call him a McDavid merchant, but you can't just pull anybody off the street and be a quote-unquote McDavid merchant. He's there for a reason. He finishes a lot of those chances that McDavid creates in the offensive zone. That's a guy that you got to keep your eye on as well. Might take him a little bit to get spun up and everything like that, but at the same time, this makes them a lot better of a team, especially in what is their biggest strength, which is their top 6. Let's see. All right, so these are the latest lines I see on here. Let's see, Saturday's morning skate, so that would be today. They have Savoie, McDavid, Hyman, Podkolzin, Draisaitl, Roslovic, Mangiapane, Henrique, Frederic, Janmark, Philippe, Lazar, Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Wallman, Kulak, Regula. All right, so that defense right there, that's where Carolina should have a really big advantage. There's not a single person on that team that's better than Slavin, even though he's not in the lineup, but just for the sake of painting a picture and, quantifying it and everything. Evan Bouchard is dangerous when he has the puck. He's not the most amazing guy defensively. He's gotten a lot better at over the last couple of years, but he's someone that's going to shoot the puck from the point almost every chance that he gets because he knows how good of a shot he has. Matthias Ekholm, veteran of the league, one of the better shutdown guys in the league, has a decent two-way game, can chip in some offense. So that top pair right there is the one that you have to be worried about the most. Now, that second pair is irritating, though. Nurse and Wallman, that's a decent amount of physicality between those two guys. So that's one of those times where, you're going to have to take some punishment to be able to get pucks in behind them. They will hit you. Kulak, Regula, third pair, standard NHL third pair, nothing special. Now, when you go back and look at the forwards, Savoie, McDavid, Hyman, that is probably your biggest threat tonight when you're looking at it collectively. However, if I had a line I was a little bit more afraid of, I'd be more afraid of Podkolzin, Draisaitl, and Roslovic. Roslovic has complemented this top 6 really well because he brings all that speed to the table. He's good at winning faceoffs when the main center gets waved out and all that type of stuff. So let's keep that in mind there. Carolina does not in any way possible, especially if Jarvis doesn't play, have a net positive in the top 6, and they lost one of their net positives in the bottom 6. So this is one of those times where the defense is going to have to be the big difference maker in the game. So Carolina still, even without Kokoniemi, has a top 6 advantage over these two, especially if you're talking about the fourth line. As far as having a pure shutdown line, the closest thing they have to that is Henrique, Mangiapane, and Frederic. They're not as effective as, say, the Stahl line, but it's also a really annoying line to play against. Adam Henrique is a grinder, and he's very experienced. Trent Frederic, we know his physicality. Mangiapane is fast and physical, very good utility winger. So that's like their equivalent of the Stahl line, but the Stahl line is still better than them. I almost said Jeff Skinner, my bad. Stuart Skinner will be starting for the Oilers. If the Oilers are in such bad shape, they have to put Jeff Skinner in net. They're in a tough spot. It doesn't matter if they have McDavid or not. Let's see. Let's go over back to the Canes stuff here. I imagine the lines won't be, so as far as the Canes lines go, let me flip back over here for a little bit and get to some of the comments. As far as the Canes lines go, they're depending on who's in and who's out. We already know Kokoniemi's out. If Jarvis does not play, I think Rodder's going to mix things up and you won't recognize the lines from last night. Kotkaniemi, Robinson, Hall is not happening because Kotkaniemi's out. If Jarvis cannot play, then you have to wonder, how is he going to employ Nadeau? Is he going to give him a shot in the top 6? Against the Oilers, probably not. We'll see. But I imagine that all 4 lines are going to be completely different, with the exception of the Stahl line probably. All 4 lines are going to be different than they were last night. So don't be surprised if you see Hall up in the top 6, so that Nadeau's not up there because he doesn't have the experience yet. If he's up there playing with Aho and Svechnikov, no surprise there. If Jackson Blake moves up and plays in Jarvis's spot, if Jarvis doesn't play, no surprise there. But I'm expecting at least 3 of the 4 normal lines to be different. No reason to change the defense. The defense is fine. So I don't think that that'll be changing at all. So let's get back over in here. All right, so looking at the overall thing here, Carolina is 17-12-5, 24 points. Edmonton is 8-7-4, 20 points. 17 games played for Carolina, 19 for Edmonton. Shot velocity, we won't worry about that too much. Skating speed. This is another team that's actually faster than Carolina, and by a pretty significant margin. The biggest reason they have that net positive is McDavid, though. If you take him out of the equation, they're probably a little bit slower of a team than Carolina, but he makes up all that for them and everything like that. As opposed to last night, where Carolina had it in the 2 most important categories as far as burst speed and everything like that. Edmonton hasn't beaten all 3. So that's one thing to take in consideration. Carolina cannot outspeed this team the way that they normally can other teams. That's not to say that they can't match that speed or that they can't exceed that speed in certain situations, but they're going to have to really step it up to play with that type of pace. And if you can't play with that type of pace, do the other things you do well. Deny neutral zone transition, deny entry, play good man-on-man defense. If they can't get away from you, that speed doesn't mean anything if you don't allow them any separation, especially in the neutral zone, where that's the best place to try and shut down guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, and Roslovic, and don't give them a chance to get in the offensive zone and create everything. Stop that problem, nip it in the bud. Stop that problem before it becomes a problem. So other thing to consider with that there. Now, even with all that speed, Edmonton is not the best at defending. That's why they've got a 3.42 goals against per game right now. So what time Carolina does have in the offensive zone, and they will have plenty of it, because Edmonton is not horrible at exiting the zone, but getting the puck back, they're not the greatest at. Go here to the zone map and everything like that. This is actually pretty close in terms of shot volume. 570, 541, accounting for the fact that the Oilers have played, they played 2 less games than Carolina, so keep that in mind. 570 to 541, high danger, pretty close. Edmonton thrives off of high danger chances, but when you look at their roster, particularly their biggest weapons, that's who you have to look at. Mid-range 170 to 145, low range 149 to 113. So very, very close in overall locations, high danger shot locations, almost dead even, and that's going to be a factor tonight. Whichever team makes the most of whatever high danger chances they're given will win. So where Carolina can do well there is they have to prevent those high danger chances from happening in the first place. And when called upon, Freddie needs to be on his toes and everything will be fine. This is going to be a rough game to win without Slavin and Chatfield, but it can be done, especially considering that they played last night. Goals. Carolina actually has more goals than Edmonton, but again, and they've played 2 less games, which is relatively impressive. 63 to 58. Again, high danger, really close, 25 to 23. Mid-range, pretty close, 25 to 23. Long range, 8 to 2. Carolina loves to shoot from the point. That being said, as far as someone I'd rather shoot from the point more than anybody tonight, that's Evan Bouchard. Before any of you say, oh, but what about Nikishin? Nikishin's been in the league for 5 minutes. Evan Bouchard's an established NHL player. Don't get me wrong. Nikishin, I think, will be better than him in that regard. I really do. But as far as looking at this game in particular right now, the most dangerous guy on the ice shooting a puck from the point currently is Evan Bouchard. I might not be saying that next year. Hell, I might not be saying that by March. But looking at this game tonight, that's what you got to look at. So keep it off his stick. Keep it off McDavid's stick. Keep it off of Draisaitl's stick. Keep it off of Roslovic's stick and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' stick as much as possible. Depth scoring, Oilers don't have a ton of it. They have enough to where they can hurt you. But likeliness is if you keep their weapons off the board, their biggest weapons off the board, you're good to go. Now, speaking of that, Oilers have done all the scoring, and then when you look at their zone time, 41.1%. So they are the NHL average in zone time, and they don't need much to hurt you. Neutral zone, 17.4 for them. They transition pretty quick. Like I said, their problem is getting the puck back, getting the puck, not getting it out. not transitioning. Transitioning is pretty easy for them with all the speed that they have them amongst their forwards. Defensive zone 41.5. That's what you have to take advantage of. Take what time the Oilers give you in the defensive zone and make the most of it. Then with Carolina, no change from last night, 45.6, well above the average, 18.2, well above the average, 36.1, well above the average. So that's going to be the keys tonight when you're looking. This is a 3-zone game. Sustaining the offensive zone as much as you can because Edmonton can't score from down there. In the neutral zone, deny entry, deny transition, suffocate them in the neutral zone, trap them in the neutral zone. Don't give them that chance to enter into your zone. And in the defensive zone, don't let them stay there. Or in the offensive, in Edmonton's offensive zone, Carolina's defensive zone, don't let them stay there very long. Shot attempt differential, this is pretty high. So Edmonton, we saw as far as shots go and everything like that, kind of in the same range as Carolina is, but they're got a higher shooting percentage and everything like that. Shot attempt differential, Carolina's plus 7.4 above league average. Edmonton is 3.4, but they're still scoring as much as they are. They make good on their opportunities to shoot. Shots on goal differential, plus 0.8 for Carolina, plus 0.3 for Edmonton. Not a big difference there in regards to shots on goal versus shot attempts. Carolina has a big edge in shot attempts. Edmonton has a big edge in getting the puck on net when they do shoot. So going back up here for a second, back to the shooting percentage to illustrate what I'm talking about. Carolina's got a higher one right now. I'm not expecting that to be the same by the time that this game is over if they don't play well. High danger shots, Carolina 17.6 versus 16.4 for Edmonton. Mid-range, Edmonton has a little bit of an edge there, 15.2 to 4.7. Long range, Carolina, as expected, with an edge. High volume shooting, lots of drops and bombs from the point. So 5.48 versus 1.07. All locations is what you really got to look at here, because with Carolina being as good at defending in their own zone and keeping teams on the perimeter, even one as good as Edmonton, Edmonton's going to be shooting from places that they don't normally like to shoot from. Inversely, with Carolina, it's going to be business as usual in their offensive zone to pepper Stuart Skinner with as many shots as possible. So that's all there is for that particular part. Now, when we go into the goalies in particular here, if this thing will, there we go. All right. So right now, this one, Freddie's numbers are not the greatest, but if you take that one bad game that he had out and how he was a little bit shaky on opening night, you take those out of the equation, this isn't really a problem. But his numbers don't reflect that he's actually been okay. He could be better, but having a goals against average of 3 or greater and having a save percentage of less than 900 makes you look not nearly as good as you could be. And then we also have to factor the injuries, especially amongst the defense being out. He's facing more shots, more high-quality shots than what he would normally. So 9 games played, he's had 5 wins, 4 losses. Again, 3.0 goals against average and a save percentage of 892. Stuart Skinner, 13 games played, 6 wins, 4 losses, 3 overtime losses, goals against average of 2.75, and a save percentage of 8.9. So now one of the things I want to look at in regards to Stuart Skinner here, those 3 overtime losses, like I've talked about with the playoffs, when I compare teams going into the playoffs, I don't really look at overtime losses because 3-on-3 is an irregularity when you're looking at the grand scheme of things. Same thing can be said for goalies. So they spend more time, like everyone else, spend more time playing 5-on-5 than they do anyone else. That's 3 goals of however many he's given up all season that he gave up in irregular circumstances, i.e. overtime. So his record, he's probably a little bit better than he's showing. The biggest thing we want to look for here, despite Edmonton not defending that well and them giving up an average of 3.42 goals per game, he's below that at 2.75. And he has a save percentage that if Carolina turns him into a Vezina candidate, which they have a habit of doing with just about anybody, he could be back above 900 before this game is over. So we'll see how that goes. Hell, even if Carolina wins, they might put him back above 900 with as much as they shoot the puck. So save percentage, just a quick look there about where they all save him from and everything like that. Where it seems like Stuart Skinner is giving him up is right there in the slot area. And then wide angles, he's having a little bit of trouble with them and everything, particularly on the glove side. So that's somewhere Carolina could shoot from frequently. That's where Svechnikov's favorite place to shoot lately is out in that area where it says 861-769 on Stuart Skinner's side. So Svechnikov could come in handy in that regard tonight. As far as saves go, you'll see as far as volume, they're about the same in the high, or actually they're identical in the slot area and everything like that. So relatively similar numbers for both of these goalies and everything like that. High danger saves, they're dead even at 61. Mid-range, Stuart Skinner's doing a little bit better in that regard, but Carolina doesn't really give up mid-range chances. That's one of the downsides of how good their shot suppression is. When they do give up chances, they're typically really quality, but they snuff out long-range, mid-range, low danger, or medium danger chances pretty much every single shift. If you're going to get a good shot against the Hurricanes, you're going to have to work for it. It's probably going to have, it's either high danger chances against the Hurricanes or no chances at all. So that's one of the things with it. Shots against, goals against. We'll look at the goals against in particular. So all locations, Freddie has a little bit of an edge there, 27 to 35, high danger, about dead even, mid-range. Stuart Skinner has a little bit of an edge, long range, 0 to 2, not much of a sample size, so not even anything really to discuss. So last thing that we'll go over to here, we'll talk about some of the stuff on Natural Stat Trick. But first, I will get back to the comments a little bit. Oh, geez, there's a lot of comments in here. Oh, okay, cool. Matt Morrison, welcome back, bud. Going to see our old friend Rosie tonight. Yeah, I liked Roslovic when he was here. I really did. If there'd been room for him, I bet he would have stayed. Brenda Moore really liked him, but there's just no way to make that work. Daniel says, almost went tonight, but had too much going on. Will enjoy from home. Yep, that's what I will be doing. I'm going to make myself a California Pizza Kitchen Sicilian pizza. I'm going to throw some wings in the fryer, and I'm going to live life, and I'm going to enjoy it because tomorrow is basically working all day for me. So because I got a bunch of schoolwork I got to get finished, and then after that I'll be good for a day to kind of relax because I've been playing NASCAR 25 a lot, and I still can't get my wheel settings exactly where I want it. It's kind of starting to piss me off. Daniel also says Stuart Skinner can be terrible or a brick wall. Both him and Picard turned into brick walls both times Carolina played them last season. Yeah, no, I agree. That's the thing. Skinner, it's like if he had a better defense in front of him, his numbers would probably be better. But there are times where he turns into a brick wall. It's kind of hot or cold with him, kind of like it is with Kochetkov, but it's more so how the whole game is going as opposed to Kochetkov just has moments where he does things he shouldn't do and everything comes off the rails. So Lurky says, is Jarvie okay? As it stands right now, he is a game time decision, which is much better than what I was worried about 24 hours ago when I was afraid he lost his damn eye. So I'll take that as him being okay. If he does play tonight, he'll probably have full face protection on. That's about it when it comes to him. We'll see. Like in about 30 minutes, we'll know. Now, I think he'll take warm-ups either way. That I do believe. I think he'll take warm-ups either way and then see if he's good to go when the game starts and everything like that. Going to be an interesting night. I agree. This will be a very interesting game. Scott Thomas, what's up, buddy? This is going to be a tough. Yeah, this one's going to be rough. If Carolina wins this game, it's going to be like in overtime again, or they're going to like eke out a 1-goal win. I do not see them dominating the Oilers tonight, but stranger things have happened. Last season, I thought it would take them 7 games to beat the Caps, and they absolutely dominated and knocked them out in 5. Washington played one truly good game in that series, and that was game 5, and they still lost. Like Washington wasn't even that great in game 2 last season. Carolina didn't play that well, and Washington took advantage of it. And, Washington played a better game on Tuesday than they ever did at any point against Carolina in the playoffs last year. I know I'm going to piss some people off, particularly friends of mine that I know from up there when I say that, but the fact of the matter is that's what happened. So let's get back into this here. All right. So looking at we'll go with the 5-on-5 numbers here first. Make sure this is working. Yep. Okay. We'll go with the 5-on-5 numbers here first. Higher shot attempts to be expected. Higher shot attempts leads to higher unblocked shot attempts to be expected. More shots from Carolina. Carolina's on the top row here. Expected goals for Edmonton's actually pretty low in that, or lower in that regard than I expected them to be, but it's still 22.62, and they have a higher expected goals for percentage than I thought that they would. But at the same time, it's still kind of low for them. Carolina's higher as normal. Scoring chances, Carolina higher. High danger chances, Carolina higher again. So everything that you expect with these numbers and everything like that at 5-on-5, it's normal and everything like that. Now, the one thing we want to look at here, 5-on-4 power play. Expected goals for Edmonton's is actually kind of low, only sitting at 5.5, but then they have 7 actual goals for, so they're scoring about a goal and a half above expected there. Again, that's something that Carolina, the penalty kill is really going to need to lock it down when they're called upon tonight, and the best thing they can do is not take penalties tonight. I mean, thankfully TJ Suxmore isn't there, so maybe Carolina will get a fair game, but this is one of those nights where you just really need to stay out of the box. Like you've got a net positive waiting on you if your bottom 6 comes through, if your shutdown line comes through, and your penalty killers come through, and your goaltending comes through. Those 4 things work out for Carolina fine, and they'll win. But it's dependent on all of those things. If they're deficient anywhere with that, then this is going to be a rough game. Let's see. And then with the penalty kill, Carolina has 7.34 expected goals against and 7 goals against, which, that's not as good as they're normally doing. But again, no Slavin, no Chatfield. You've been missing those guys for a lot of the season and everything like that. So that's to be expected as well. All righty. So that is going to be it for me tonight. I imagine just about everybody's at the Lenovo Center now and right now and everything like that. I will be doing damage report after the show. I will make sure everything's all set up and all well and good, and we will do that around 10 o'clock, 10:15, something along those lines, and then that will be that. Everybody, thank you very much for joining. I very much appreciate it. Those of you who are going to the game, have fun, enjoy it. I'm hoping I'll make it up to one soon, but you guys go have fun. Y'all take care. I'll see you later. Slumped, I will see you later as well. Have a good night. You have a good night too, buddy. I always pull.